Okay, there we go. All right, so next item on the agenda. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. We're going to start off by talking about how we do some chatbots in Magic School. So a lot of people are familiar with the Magic School platform. They started off by having a bunch of tools for teachers to use to make workflow and efficiency more easier to do. And then they introduced in the earlier this year some tools for students. And there were a lot of things that you could do with students, but there's a subset of those tools that are chatbots that you can use with students. So we're really going to focus in on those this morning. And then we're going to move on to Schoolai, which is another platform that is really known for their spaces, which are basically K-12 chatbots for students. So we're going to talk about those and specifically how to use those for critical thinking and engagement with students. And then we're going to kind of finish up with some considerations that we can talk about for using chatbots with students in school. I'm calling them considerations rather than best practices because this is so new that when you kind of go down this rabbit hole of information about looking for something that is as official as best practices, really there aren't any. So I'm kind of broadening that out to just some considerations at this point. I'm going to save some time for Q&A, and then I always have a bonus piece of information at the end that I want to share with you just to have some fun with AI at the end. So I'm going to take a quick minute here to ask you guys to jump over to the Padlet, which apparently you've already seen, and see if you could pick one of those three things, well, four, I guess, actually, because there's the bonus and the Q&A. And in that first column of the Padlet, decide what you're most excited about. Is it the Magic School chatbots or the School AI ones, or these considerations, or kind of weaving over to eventually coming up with some best practices about using chatbots with kids in school. So if you could just kind of share your thoughts about that in that first column. And you'll see up there at the top, I kind of pinned the presentation with the old background. Apparently it didn't update to the new background. So if you want to share that over there in the Padlet. And then you can also see in the Padlet, there's a column for you just sharing your tips. If you've have something that you just have come across that is super useful, please put that into the second column. That is going to live there for all of our series of webinars over the summer. So you can kind of see what other people have shared along the way. And then the third column is going to be a brainstorming thing that we're going to do in just a sec. And then a column for Magic School and a column for Schoolai. So that's the way kind of the setup of our workshop is going to, or our session is going to be going this morning. So I'm going to click on to the next thing. All right. So also, before we get started, if you could really quickly jump over to the Menti. The code is right there. You can scan it with your phone if you don't want to click away onto a new tab, and just let me know who is here. So the first question is going to be who's in the room. And then the second question is just kind of a little bit about your familiarity with Magic School chatbots and Schoolai and things like that. So I can see some of you guys are already over there doing that, so I really appreciate it. I am going to drag this over to the screen so that you can see it. Put it into present mode. Okay, so we can see a lot of teachers, yay, coaches, awesome, instructional specialists and instructional coaches, one brave administrator here in the room, thank you very much. A bunch of people who are identifying as other, so thank you for that. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That really, really helps. And then let's go over here. So familiarity we have, so strongly disagree. So this is gonna be great. So we're gonna go over here and get some info on using the chatbots in Magic School, using these Schoolai ones. So that slider is going to definitely change by the end of today, and then understand the best practices. So it's going to be more considerations. Okay, so we'll slide that one to a different level of knowledge there, and then chatbots are new. Okay, so I'm excited about doing this session. All right, I'm going to fly you back over there and close that. All right. Wait, I flew my whole entire thing over there. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So first things first, to get you guys into the mindset of what can I do with a chatbot in my teaching role. So teachers, coaches, administrators, just thinking about what you do and what a chatbot could possibly do for you in in what you do every day. I thought we would spend 2 or 3 minutes just brainstorming what you could use a chatbot for. Okay, so there are 3 ways that you could do it. The first way is using Eduade. So if you click on this link, it's going to take you over to Eduade, sign in, and you can either use the learning objective process that they have there. It's called learning objective plus success criteria. That's the little button. Or if that's not kind of your workflow, you could click over to engagement activities and just add in your learning objective, your standard, click the enhance button and add that to the workspace and just kind of get some ideas about what you could use a chatbot for in your teaching area or as a coach. So that's one way. The other way that you could brainstorm is you could click on this School AI chatbot and it will prompt you and engage with you about just brainstorming ways that a chatbot could be used to use chatbots in your teaching area. Or you could just use a regular old Google Doc and just type in some ideas. Okay, so I'd like to give you just a couple of minutes to think about this and just get some ideas typed down. Okay, and I'm going to play some brainstorming music for you and give you about 2 minutes to do that. Okay.
Hey, Stacy, this is Lauren, just for my clarification, we're brainstorming how we would use AI chatbots in planning and things like that.
You could use, so if you, for example, if you were to use the School AI chatbot, it's going to prompt you for what do you do? You could use it in planning. You could use it directly with your students. It's going to, in the brainstormer, for example, there is a document in there that Ethan Malik has researched. He's kind of famous in terms of doing research about how chatbots are used in K-12 education and higher ed. So they're just different ways that, so I didn't want to give you, nothing to start with as far as just getting ideas, but it will
Gotcha.
prompt you with some information for how to get started with this.
Got you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Okay, so that was a little bit of a kind of a fast and furious little moment to start thinking about, brainstorming with about what you would use School AI or what you would use chatbots for in your teaching role at in your school or your PSU. So if you would like to share out in the Padlet some of the ideas that you had, then that would be great. But we're just going to go forward and see some actual ideas in some of these platforms. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to make a quick moment to talk about privacy and safety and talk about some considerations with that before we jump into Magic School. In general, the two platforms that we're specifically going to talk about have some fairly friendly, K-12 friendly privacy and safety agreements. But of course, whenever you're considering using these, you're going to look at your own PSU's privacy and safety considerations and dig into that specifically. But as a specific user, never put personally identifiable information into any technology tool, but especially an AI tool. And we always look very closely at any information that we're typing in or we're copying and pasting from something to make sure that it's been anonymized. Then we know that student ID numbers are personally identifiable information. So whenever you have any questions about that, check with your technology department and make sure if you have any questions that you've checked into that specifically. So with that said, let's take a look at how you can explore Magic School chatbots specifically and how they might be helpful. So if you would like to be in Magic School specifically and take a look and explore around while we're looking at this, you're going to see that on the student side, the way teachers can deploy Magic School chatbots, you'll see a total of 8 that are specifically designed for using with students. So you have a custom chatbot, which is relatively new. You have Raina for students, which is like ChatGPT, but it's not just unfettered access to ChatGPT. It's been constrained to be designed for educational use. So if a student asks something that is a little bit off topic, that is of a sensitive nature, then Raina is going to always guide students back towards an educational topic. I was using this with a group of teachers recently, and they were trying to test it and ask it questions that were very, very, off topic and very, very sensitive and trying to get Raina to answer them in an inappropriate way. And Raina was always guiding the students back to appropriate topics. And then on the back end, as a teacher, you can see on the dashboard everything that the students are asking and everything that Raina is saying. So you have that added layer of protection where you can monitor what your students are saying. You've got Chatbot Builder that you can customize to be very, very diverse and informational, to be anything that you want the students to be able to interact with. You've got a character chatbot that is very specific to be a historical figure, an author, or a recognizable character from a story. You've got a tutor, so you can have a tutor students on any topic or subject, a college and career counselor, a debate partner, and a study bot. So Magic School has tried to think of some very specific use cases that teachers would want their students to interact with, and then given some flexibility in designing your own as well. So I'd like to take a look inside Magic School so that you can kind of see how you can do these things and how it works to put these together. So the first thing you would do is click into Magic School. So I'm going to open that up and get logged in. And so once you're inside Magic School, you're going to see you've got your platform over here. And before we launch to students, I just want to kind of show you how to find things. So it gets you in on the teacher side. So here are all your regular teacher tools. And then you would click the slider so you can see the student side. And the student side has the purple background, so you kind of know where you are. And it shows up at first with everything, right? So you see everything on the screen. And I'm going to filter it so it has chatbots. And you can see all 8 of them right here. And I've gone and clicked the stars so that all of the 8 chatbots that are that we want to look at today are filtered out so they hang out here at the top. So if I were to unclick them, I'm going to unclick them so that you can see how your screen would normally show up. So normally, if they're not filtered out, you would see everything just in this giant list, right? But if you click chatbots, then they'll filter out so that everything is up here at the top. And then if you star them, they'll stay at the top so that you don't have to go look for them every single time. So that's what I'm going to do for today so that we can see them. Okay. I think I've got them all. So I've got all 8 of them at the top. The first one that I want to show you how to use is the Tutor Me with AI. I feel like kind of the end of the year, it's a little bit appropriate to have a tutor, and it basically never helps to have a tutor. So I'm going to click on Tutor, and all of the Magic School screens are set up similarly where you can choose your grade level. So I was a 7th grade and 8th grade science teacher, so I'm going to pick 7th grade. And then you've got this context window where you can add as much information as you feel like you need to have. So I am going to choose a standard. And the standard that I was playing around with last night to get ready for this was from 8th grade science. So I'm just going to go over and get it. So I've got it in a little Google Doc over here. But if you've got your learning, your pacing guide or your essential questions, or if you've got your standards, bookmarked on your toolbar or something, then you would just go over there and get them. So, or you could just add in a topic, right? So as much information, more information is always better. So it can be very, very focused. If you just were to type in something like cell transport by diffusion, then it's going to be very broad and go out and get any of that. And it could be from Texas or New York or California or just, anything in general. But if you're really specific to the North Carolina Standard Courses Study, then obviously it's going to be much better. So more specificity is usually better. So I've gone and gotten our North Carolina Essential Standards and then go ahead and click Generate just to test it out and to see how it works. So it's going to go in there and say, hello, I'm Raina, your friendly AI tutor. And it's pretty cool because you don't have to rely on kids to actually read this. They can click Read Aloud.
Hello, I'm Raina, your friendly AI tutor, and I'm here to help you understand the structure of the hydrosphere. Let's start by talking about what you already know about this topic. What do you know about the distribution of water on Earth?
So it's read that aloud to me, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, well, if I weren't already using my mic for this Teams meeting, then I could click my microphone and I could actually talk to it, right? So, but I'm already using my mic for Teams, so I'm going to have to type. So I am going to say, I've studied this all quarter, but I don't remember anything. So kids are going to say whatever it is that they were going to say, right? So Rain is going to, or the tutor's going to come back and say some information and give them some information. They can read it aloud, and then it's going to suggest some questions to them, but then they can ask their own questions. So if you're a middle school student, you're going to answer however you're going to answer, and it's going to go back and forth with you to quiz them and to prompt them and to kind of keep the conversation going. If I were using this in class with actual students, I would probably have them have a graphic organizer of some kind or an interactive science notebook and teach them to, have some kind of a specific way to interact with the tutor rather than just relying on students to be sort of, self-motivated and just interact with the screen in a very, plain way. The way this is going, I would have them actually do something in a analog way in class or at home if they were doing this at home on their own. So before I go on to the next one, are there any questions about this before I go on? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the main screen. And so that's the way we have all of these. So the next thing I want to do is show you about the custom chatbot, because all of these other ones basically behave the same way. You have the same kind of context window and you can set the grade level and all of that sort of thing. So the next thing I want to show you is how to launch it to students. So you would click on this button over here and click Launch to Students. It brings you over to this to a screen like this, and you could click Launch a New Room, right? And that would allow you to create a room to give any of these tools, but the custom chatbots, to your students in a very controlled way. So I'm going to show you the Wednesday webinar room, but before I do that, I want to go back to this screen. So we are right here where I'm showing you from the teacher side how this is all controlled. But if you kind of want to multitask a little bit, you could join the Magic School room. The information's right here. You can click on it or you could scan the QR code and you could see some of these same tools from the student side as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to go into the Wednesday webinar room. So when you go in there, you can see that I'm going to edit this room so you can see it from the teacher side. Edit this room. And I gave it its own name. When you create a room from scratch, it just gives it a name by like the day of the week. But you can delete that out and you can call it whatever you want to call it. So you could give it the title from whatever you call your room in real life. And then you click next and you can see all of your different tools that you've delivered to your students. So if you wanted to delete one out, that's where you would do that here, or you could scroll down to the whole bank of tools and you could add new ones. And then you click next. And here's the custom chatbot. So I've already added this one. And so here's where I would open it up to customize it. So here's my grade level. So you can select whatever grade level you want. And then here's that context window, just like we had in the other screen, right? So here's where I would customize this chatbot to have whatever role I want it to play. So in this case, I wanted to create a custom chatbot to assist students in identifying their academic strengths and weaknesses and their goals. So at the beginning of the year, if I have a personalized learning classroom, one of the big things that we do is we help kids with their learning profile and have them figure out what they're interested in and identify all of those things. So I'm giving it a role. I'm kind of telling it how to behave. I'm telling it what to do. I have to tell it a lot of times. I know if you guys have used ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, sometimes it will just gush out a lot of information, right at the beginning. So I've told this chatbot not to tell everything right at the beginning. The Schoolai or the Magic School chatbot is bad about adding all of the information right up front. So I made sure that I told it not to add everything right at the beginning. I gave it some guidelines. The purpose of this chatbot is to build rapport, so I told it that. I wanted it to ask them about their interests outside of school as well as inside of school. So I gave it all of the information that I wanted it to give it. Now, I have to tell you, I had a lot of ideas about what I wanted it to do, but so I just started typing that in because I used to have a personalized learning classroom, but I also put all of this in and then copied and pasted it into actual ChatGPT. And I said to ChatGPT, I'm designing a prompt for the context window of a chatbot. Help me write this text. And then I pasted all my words in there and it clarified it for me. And then I pasted it back in here. So, multitasking with your workflows is definitely a thing. And after I did that, this chatbot worked better. So ChatGPT, I guess in real life, helped me with Magic School chatbot in my education life. So that's what this did. And then I clicked next, and then you test it. So you click generate, and this is what it does. So it generates some informational text here, and it's basically behaving the way I liked it to do. But I'm going to tell you something interesting about the Magic School test window. This test window is not exactly the same as the student window. I feel like it gives you a lot, like all of this brackety stuff here that's going on. Students don't usually see that in real life. So once I clicked done, I actually went and got this join code for the students, and I joined it myself to see how it behaved as an actual student. So if you go over to my Wednesday webinar room, you'll see I joined it as Stacy just to test it to see how it worked as if I was a real student. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and see if you guys have any questions about Magic School chatbots before I go over to School AI.
I have a question, Stacy. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I'm in as a student,
Mhm.
and I see on the student tools the custom chatbot and then the chatbot builder. So as a student, can I build my own chatbots as well, or is this ones that you have set up as the teacher?
I have not actually done that with students, but from what I understand, students can also build.
Okay, so I'm assuming since we've tried to trick Raina into being inappropriate, that there are um, stop gaps and things here as well that are going to keep them. Okay, perfect.
Yes, yeah,
And
definitely.
then Joshua has a question in the chat, and he said, are any of these tools locked behind the paid enterprise version of Magic School, or are they available for the free version?
Right now, Magic School Student is still on the free side. Yep, so right now, still free. Two big sentences, or two big phrases in that sentence, right now and still. Yeah. So I feel like I'm Santa Claus. I'm going down all the chimneys and collecting all my cookies while I can. Yes. Okay, so the next one we're going to go on to is, so before I go on though, we see the Padlet over here. If you have some ideas for how you might use Magic School, or you've got questions, go ahead and type them in the Padlet, because I'm going to check back with that at the end and make sure that any questions that come up get answered. So you definitely, or add them into the chat. Okay, because I don't want to rush by something that, occurs to you and you think, oh, I've got that question. Okay, so let's zoom on to School AI. School AI has so much flexibility and is also super cool. It lets you build bots. You can build them for students. That's what they're kind of known for. But you can also customize them and build them for educator use as well. So it's a pretty cool tool. So our goal here in the next few minutes is to talk about it a little bit, experience some, and then build them, and actually give you time to build something inside School AI and maybe paste a link if you feel comfortable with it into the Padlet so we can test it out for you and give you some ideas of how that looks behind the scenes as well. So I am going to scoot over to this next page, just give you that other just quick little note about checking the School AI safety and privacy information, and just, kind of keep that in mind whenever you're, jumping into some of these tools. Okay. Doing a lot of random clicking here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so when you get into School AI, you're going to see the way the screen is organized. Up at the top, you've got spaces. You've got a spot where you can go over and discover existing spaces that have been created by either the School AI team, or sometimes they feature educators. So you can follow them and remix the spaces that they have created. You can create your own. And then they also have spaces that are designed for workflow and efficiency, but what they're really known for is these really flexible chatbots. So on the some of the chatbots that they have that are available on the screen are chats with historical figures. They have a lot of spaces for tutors like ACT, tutoring you through or assisting you through creating your FAFSA forms. They have coaches. They have, chatting with book characters. They just have a lot of pre-made spaces on their website. So if you go to the Discover tab, then you can can you find those, add them to your account, and just use them as is. This is a wakelet that I've been creating for a while now. I think I'm up to 71 things in there at this point, where there's a column where you can experience school AI spaces from the student point of view. And then right next to it, there's a column where you can click on the link for the teacher link, so that if you want to see the inside of that space and look at the text and remix it, so you can either use it as is or you can customize it for your own. So you can just kind of see how the person created that space. So there are a bunch of different, and it's everything from science spaces to there's some teachers who shared one that they created for their newcomer space so they could welcome students to their classroom. There are wellness spaces. There's just a whole variety of things in there. And I really like being able to see it from the student point of view and then also see the teacher side of it, so you can see how the person actually got the space to do what it does. So that's just a resource for you to take a look at if you've got some extra time. Okay, so how do you create a space that for your actual classroom? So there are a couple of things that I'd like to give you a chance to do. This is a space brainstormer. So it's a chatbot that will help you brainstorm ideas for using a space in your classroom or in your teaching role. So if you are on slide 15 and click on this link, okay, it's going to open you up to the School AI platform. So I want you to keep that tab on your screen. Just kind of hold on to that for just a second. And then I'm also going to ask you to open up a new tab and just go to School AI itself so I can kind of show you around the site. Okay, so if you go to School AI and sign in, and we're to this main screen, and we have the launch pad, we have spaces, and then we have the tools and assistants. And if you go to create a space, that's where all the magic happens. And on this page, at first glance, sometimes it looks a little bit intimidating because you have this big blank screen and all of these boxes, but you really only need to do 3 things. You need to think of a title. Sometimes for me, that's the hardest part. You need to fill in this box with your prompt, and then you need to click Generate All Fields, and that's it. So we have the title, the prompt, and then we just click Generate All Fields. So over here on this School AI chatbot brainstormer, I think I gave you the wrong link. I'm sorry. Um, Let me fix my space. I'm gonna have to fix something. Okay. If you guys could refresh your screen, please, because I needed to have this link, not the one that I originally put on my screen. Sorry about that. So this brainstormer should show up to look like this. So when you get, so one of the hardest things to do is to think of what do you want your school AI space to actually do. So when I was making the one for personalized learning, or if I was making one to do forces in motion, or if I was making one to create informational text for the ELA teacher who was, that I was working with about a month ago, it's kind of like, yeah, I have this idea, but what do I really want this space to do? Well, the School AI chatbot brainstormer is really helpful for doing that. So to enter a space, you would just add your name and click join. And one of the cool things about this is it's going to help you brainstorm ideas for creating a school AI space. So the first thing it does is ask you your grade level and your subject and what you're focusing on, and just what ideas do you have in mind? And it'll just go back and forth with you to come up with ideas. So I want to give you a second to do that. Okay, so after it comes up with an idea for you, you can copy it and paste it into your Create a Space link and see how that AI prompt will work in your to see how that prompt will work in a space that you can create. So one of the ideas here is that by using your chatbot brainstormer, it'll help you create a prompt for a school AI space. So it gives you the next steps. It gives you a link to take you over to the space creator, and it gives you at least the seed for creating a prompt for your school AI space. So if I jump over here to Space Creator, I can give it at least a basic title. And I can, if you click Add Standards, then it only gives you Common Core State Standards, and it doesn't have all of our standards in there yet. I was looking for North Carolina, and the last time I looked, I wasn't sure if they had our science standards in there yet. Well, I don't know, this might be updated. Oh my gosh, they have them. This is updated since I've been there. This is pretty good. So you can connect it to your standards, and then you can start your preview. To launch it to students, you click this button and copy that or give them the code. And then if you wanted to share it with other teachers, you would click the little paper airplane button, and that shares it with other teachers. And if you need to adjust it because it isn't working quite right, then you click the little pencil button. And the adjustment that I would make to this one is that in North Carolina, in the science standards, that we do the example that they're giving might not be the best example because it talks about perfume moving across a room, and that's not quite the way I would teach it. So maybe I would make an adjustment to one of the examples, but you can make adjustments in there if it isn't behaving quite the way you think it should be behaving. So I'm going to go back over here and press pause for just a second and see if there are any questions about building a space or how to use the space brainstormer.
So we know Lauren's always going to have a question at this point.
I appreciate
How
questions.
how many spaces can I have?
There is no limit in the free model in how many spaces you can have, but there is a limit in participation. So from what I've seen, I think it's like 250 participants is the max participation.
For life, for the space. So once you hit that, can you just recreate it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, this is on the free model. I haven't run out of participation. So,
Very cool.
mhm,
Thank you.
welcome. And then on the dashboard side, I'm going to show you, let's see, if you go to your sessions, the other thing about and you can see I've got a lot of launches. On the dashboard side of this, if you go to the brainstorm that we just looked at, for example, you can see, and this is also similar for Magic School, they all have a really neat dashboard side where you can see the list of students, and you can see a sentiment analysis of how the students are doing. They give a little smiley face and then they give a little sort of a headline that analyzes how how the engagement is going. And then if you look at, I'm going to go to one that's been going on for a little while. If you go to one that if you click on something that one of the students that has been engaging for a while and open it up, you can see a detailed list of exactly how the interaction has been going. So what the student said and then what the bot said. So, and then that is present for the life of the bot, and all of the students are there. If you deactivate it, so if you go to the space and you end the session, before you end it, you have the choice of downloading the information and saving it somewhere. You can also pause it, and you can also, for an individual student, you can give them a rejoin link. So if they want to come back to their same session and continue that chat, they can continue back in there instead of rejoining in a new session and starting from scratch. Some of the things about School AI that I haven't seen so far is the ability to kind of organize your sessions into something like a room. The difference between School AI and Magic School, for example, is Magic School started off allowing people to create rooms, and then all of the tools are organized within a room. So it's similar to that organizational platform like you would have a school day.
Stacy, me again. Do the
Mhm.
students have to join? Do the students have to be in School AI in order to join that space? Like you can't link, like Do your spaces generate links where I can then put that in my LMS and link
Yes.
into the space?
So the way you join would be through providing. Here, let me go back to that site, for example. When you're in School AI and you're giving them this information, they either join by the link or by the join code. They don't actually join School AI itself. So
So
the
if I'm using Canvas or Google Classroom, I could organize it in modules or in topics in those. So I sort of kind of could work around the organization piece.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it's all very it would be like you would place the organization would be imposed by you in your LMS rather
Gotcha.
than inside the platform itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back in the presentation, there are some resources that I put in there about prompting in spaces, but what you're going to see if you've been, to any of the sessions about being a good prompt crafter is that prompting a space is very similar to just writing a good prompt. You need to define the role, provide a task, set the parameters or the guidelines that you want the space to follow. And this is very similar in Magic School in designing the custom chatbot as well, is just giving it detailed directions and being specific. So all of the prompting skills that you have in your regular life with ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude also apply to your custom chatbots and your School AI spaces. The only difference is that you don't have the School AI and Magic School have superimposed some guardrails around their AIs for the educational system. So when students are interacting with your spaces or your Magic School chatbots, they can't go outside of the safeguards that the educational community needs to have in place for their students. So, and you also have the parameters, the dashboards that the Magic School and School AI provide so that you can see what your students are doing, you can get alerts, and you can see in real time how the kids are interacting. Okay, so I am going to, keeping time in mind, I want to go to my next couple of screens about some considerations that I was able to find from some research that I did about using chatbots with students. We know that having access to chatbots gives students some benefits in that they can get some personalization to their learning. It gives them some benefits to getting skill development in some very specific ways, and they can use them as tutors and study aids and for some very specific skills if these chatbots are well designed and used appropriately. So there's some research out there that supports some of these benefits. On the kind of the challenges and concerns side of things, we have to keep in mind that chatbots can be unreliable, they can have accuracy problems, they can have bias problems, and that if we're using them in a way that um, gives us concerns about fairness, especially when we talk about assessment, that as teachers and educators, we have to know what these interactions are. So I think that especially with Magic School and School AI and some of these other educational chatbots, keeping close tabs on the dashboard and how our students are interacting with them is one layer of protection that we have for these things so that we are interacting with them. So if we don't just look at that sentiment analysis, but actually look at how the kids are interacting with them and don't rely on just assuming that things are going okay with them. So that's where us having access to the dashboard provides that human in the loop aspect of it and keeps us in touch with what's going on with some of or being able to monitor some of these challenges and concerns. The research on this is evolving just like everything in AI in education and AI in the K-12 space. There's more information about this in higher ed than there is, at least from what I can find, in K-12. So I wanted to link you out to this Wakelet. It doesn't have a graphic yet because it's still a new Wakelet. So I'm adding things to it all the time. So one of the places where I got some of this information from is from some research that was done right here and published by Ethan Mollick and on 7 approaches to using AI with students. And this was a really good paper, so I wanted to provide that to you so that in your spare time, if you would like to look at it, it has a lot of information that I kind of tried to summarize here in this on those 2 screens. Also, the exploring how to use AI chatbots in education with students. So there's going to be some more information in here. I really highly recommend this paper by Tom Mullaney in using AI especially with younger students, and how students will form attachments to their AI chatbots. And especially in younger grades where they don't have the awareness to not view AI chatbots as people, as their friends, because they respond in very natural language as if they're friends. And so we have to be aware when we're using chatbots with early elementary kids that on the one hand, they are providing very personalized learning experiences with them, which are definitely a benefit. But sometimes if teachers take away access to technology in the classroom because it's viewed as a privilege, that we're also taking away access to what some kids might perceive as their friend. And so there are a lot of considerations out there to take into account when we're using something like a chatbot that is interacting in this very human-like way with younger students. So this is not the same as, just assigning a technology that is less personal. So I'm not presenting these considerations as something that is already a really well-known subject. Okay, so before we go to the bonus, I want to press pause real quick and ask if there are any questions and check in on the Padlet and see if you guys have any information over there that I need to check and make sure that we don't brush by.
Stacy, the only thing in the chat that was added, Josh let us know that daily participation in Magic School AI is set to 75, so it caps at 75. So if you have more than 75 students at a time, you may have to stagger participation, like maybe in stations or something like that.
Very good point. Thank you for letting me know that, Josh. Okay. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up with the bonus. So the bonus item today for this round is the Magic Smash. So I'm all about, app smashing. So in this case, since it's Magic School, I'm calling it a Magic Smash. And it's the Magic Smash with Suno, which is an AI song creator. And Lauren actually shared another song creator called, is it Udo? Is that how you say it? Udio?
I think it's Udio.
Udio, yes. So there are a lot of these AI generated song creators out there now. So they're amazing. Suno is one that is also marketing really heavily to educators, and they're having a contest going on right now that I saw on social media as well. So anyways, if you were to do a Magic Smash, the cool thing about this is that it starts off with just a regular awesome reflection. My hashtag for that is TYTF. Think your thoughts first, right? Actually do a 3-2-1 reflection, do a jotting, do a glows and grows. Like the kids learn something and then they process, and then take that processing and jump into Magic School or jump into maybe a School AI space and create song lyrics, right? So use one of those tools to do that, and then jump over to something like Suno. Now, Suno, you'd probably have to do that as an adult. You wouldn't make a student account with that. So take those lyrics and jump them and go over to Suno and have Suno take the lyrics and turn them into a song. And there are steps for that in this Super Suno Song Smash document. So you have access to that. You can remix it. You can turn it into something that isn't this super long skinny thing that is that size, and kind of have fun with that. I did this with a 7th grade science teacher who was studying genetics with their students, and they were doing a review. They were also doing the founding fathers in social studies. So they they did a rap battle between the founding fathers and the genetic scientists. And it was amazing. So we had a blast doing that. And then this page has my call to action, and I wanted to add in this graphic from Dan Fitzpatrick's AI classroom. Can I create this with AI? Can I work with AI to do this? And how can AI help me do this differently? So just, be thinking about that, and going forward, just kind of have AI over here, just helping me do things differently going forward. And as we do that as adults, then that's going to transfer on to how we think about doing things with our students and the staff we support. So here are some resources. You don't have to start from scratch when teaching AI literacy with your students and the teachers that are working with students as well. And this is access to all of the wakelets that are constantly propagating themselves and making more, and some of the key ones that are really kind of highlighting themselves lately. So I really want to thank you guys for being here this morning and hanging out and learning about AI chatbots in K-12. And we're having another one of these this afternoon with Vera Cubero. She's starting at 3:30, and we're having more Wednesday webinars. I really thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.